I never thought I'd be the kind of person writing something like this, but here I am, staring at my phone in disbelief, trying to make sense of a life that suddenly feels like a lie. My boyfriend, Alex, and I have been together for almost 4 years. I'm 24, he's 26. We've been living together for 2. No kids, no big plans yet, just a comfortable rhythm of work, Netflix, and weekends spent exploring little coffee shops or hiking trails. Lately, though, things felt off. I shrugged it off at first. He's been stressed at work, maybe tired, maybe just distracted. But there were signs. The late-night texts he'd quickly hide when I walked in. The little lies about where he was going. The sudden obsession with keeping his phone private, which used to never bother him. I tried not to think about it. I wanted to trust him. I needed to trust him. But deep down there was this gnawing unease. A whisper that something wasn't right. And then, everything changed in a single afternoon. I still don't know why I opened his messages. I told myself it was curiosity, self-preservation, a need to know the truth before my mind drove me insane with suspicions. But as soon as I saw them, my stomach dropped. There were texts, long, intimate texts, messages full of jokes, secrets, and kisses that weren't meant for me. Not from a colleague, not from a friend. From someone else. Someone he had been seeing behind my back. My hands shook as I scrolled through everything. Dates, late-night plans, little lies he'd told me. They all made sense now. Every working late, or meeting with a client suddenly had a face. A name. And it was real. I felt like I had been punched in the chest, like someone had ripped out a part of me that I didn't even know I was giving away so freely. I didn't cry at first. I just stared. The apartment felt smaller, the air heavier. I couldn't breathe. And in that moment, I realized that the life I thought I had, the trust, the love, the comfort, was a lie. I didn't wait. I couldn't. That night, when he came home, I was sitting on the edge of the couch, phone in hand, heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst. "Alex, we need to talk," I said, my voice trembling but firm. He froze. I saw the flash of guilt, maybe fear, cross his face. "What's wrong?" he asked cautiously. I held up the phone. "These. Who is she?" At first he tried to deny it. "It's not what you think," he whispered, avoiding my eyes. Then came the excuses. Stress, loneliness, mistakes. I didn't mean for it to happen. I felt my chest tighten, my mind spinning. He tried to explain, to justify, to apologize, but nothing he said could erase the proof glowing on my screen. The betrayal wasn't abstract anymore. It was concrete, undeniable. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to collapse. Instead, I just sat there, shaking, feeling the ground beneath me crumble. After he went to bed that night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the wall, feeling like my chest was wrapped in tight, invisible chains. Anger came first, hot, fiery, all-consuming. How could he do this to me? To us? Every laugh, every "I love you," every quiet moment we shared suddenly felt like a lie. Then came the sadness, heavy and suffocating. I kept thinking about all the plans we made, the little routines we had, the quiet comfort of our life together. Had it all been a performance? Was I just blind? I felt a nauseating mix of guilt too. Guilt for checking his phone, for doubting him, for letting myself fall so hard. And yet, the truth was undeniable. The betrayal was real. And it hurt more than I thought possible. I cried quietly into the night, my tears soft but endless. I felt shattered, hollowed out from the inside. I kept asking myself the same questions over and over. Why? Was I not enough? Was our love ever real? The next morning, I felt numb. I went through the motions of getting ready for work, making coffee, but my mind was elsewhere, trapped in a whirlpool of thoughts. I kept replaying the messages, his excuses, the expression on his face when I confronted him. I realized I had a choice. I could either let this destroy me entirely, cling to what used to be, or I could face the truth and decide what I truly wanted. Could I forgive him? Could I rebuild trust from this wreckage? Or was it time to walk away, to reclaim myself before I lost even more? I sat down with a notebook and started writing, trying to untangle my thoughts. Anger, hurt, disappointment, love, they all tangled together like knots I couldn't untie. But one thing became painfully clear. I couldn't stay in a relationship where my heart was treated like something disposable. I didn't have an answer yet, but for the first time since discovering the betrayal, I felt a tiny spark of control. This wasn't just happening to me. I had the power to decide what happened next. I decided to give myself some space. That evening, I packed a small bag, just the essentials, and went to stay with my best friend. The apartment that once felt like home now felt like a cage. Each corner reminding me of him, of us, of the lies. Being away from him, even for a few hours, was like breathing for the first time in weeks. I cried on my friend's shoulder, letting out emotions I hadn't allowed myself to fully feel. Rage, betrayal, grief, and confusion. She didn't try to tell me what to do. She just listened, held my hand, and let me be. I knew I needed to think clearly before talking to Alex again. I didn't want to make impulsive decisions fueled by anger, but I also couldn't ignore what happened. The first step wasn't about confronting him again. It was about reclaiming my sense of self, remembering that I mattered too. That night, lying in my friend's spare room, I realized that moving forward, even just a little, was possible. Painful, yes, but possible. The next day, I went back to our apartment. Walking through the door felt surreal, like stepping into someone else's life. Alex was there, nervously pacing, avoiding my gaze. I could tell he had spent the night thinking too, but I wasn't sure if it was guilt, regret, or fear. I sat down and tried to speak calmly, though my voice trembled. I need to know why. I need the truth, the whole truth. He swallowed hard, finally meeting my eyes. I don't know what came over me, he admitted. It was stupid. I was lonely, I felt distant. I never meant to hurt you like this. His words were soft, almost pleading. And yet, all I could hear was the betrayal echoing between us. I wanted to shake him, scream at him, tell him how deeply he had broken me. But instead, I just listened, heart pounding, mind racing. I realized that understanding his reasons wouldn't erase the pain. It wouldn't undo the late-night messages, the lies, the secret meetings. But hearing him say it out loud made the situation more real, more undeniable. Even after hearing him speak, my mind refused to settle. Doubts clawed at me like tiny, relentless insects. Could I ever trust him again? Would I wake up one day and realize the betrayal had already poisoned every memory we had? I found myself replaying moments over and over. Small lies, whispered excuses, fleeting glances. Was it all a warning I had ignored? I questioned myself endlessly. Had I missed the signs? Was I naive, blind, stupid for believing in us so fully? Anger came and went, replaced by sadness that felt heavier than anything I had known. Some nights I stared at the ceiling, tears streaming silently, asking myself how someone I loved so completely could hurt me this way. And yet, amidst the pain, a tiny voice whispered, "You have to decide what you deserve. You have to choose for yourself." It was terrifying to admit, but maybe, just maybe, this wasn't only about him. It was about me reclaiming control over my own heart. A week later, I couldn't take the tension anymore. Every interaction felt like walking on glass. I was exhausted from pretending, from holding back tears, from forcing myself to act normal around him. I realized something frightening. I was losing myself in this pain. One night, after another tense dinner, I finally snapped. "I can't do this," I whispered, my voice shaking, barely audible. "I can't just act like everything is okay. I trusted you, Alex. I gave you everything, and you threw it away." He tried to reach for me, but I pulled back. Anger and heartbreak burned through me so intensely that it was almost physical. I need time. I need space to figure out if I can even stay in this relationship. I can't live like this anymore, feeling betrayed every second, I said. For the first time, I felt a strange mixture of fear and liberation. Fear, because I didn't know what would happen next. Liberation, because I had finally admitted to myself that I couldn't continue living in the shadow of his betrayal. I spent the next few days alone in the apartment, wandering from room to room, staring at the things that once felt ordinary, but now carried memories of him. And of us. Every corner reminded me of what I had loved and what had been broken. I wrote in my journal for hours, trying to untangle my emotions. Grief, anger, confusion, and a strange flicker of hope. I realized how much I had tied my happiness to him, to us, and how fragile that had made me. The betrayal hurt not just because of his actions, but because it forced me to confront the parts of myself I had ignored. My own needs, my boundaries, my self-respect. I allowed myself to cry without shame, to scream into the empty apartment, to feel the heartbreak fully. For the first time in days, I felt like I was beginning to reclaim myself, not just from him, but from the pain that had consumed me. And in that solitude, I understood something crucial. Healing wouldn't be instant, but I had the power to start. I finally reached out to my closest friends. I sat in a coffee shop, hands wrapped around a warm mug, and let the tears flow as I told them everything. For the first time, I didn't try to hide my pain or justify his actions. I just let it out. They listened without judgment. They offered hugs, words of encouragement, and the occasional blunt truth I needed to hear. You deserve better. I realized how isolating grief can be when carried alone, and how powerful it is to have people who remind you of your worth. I also started reading, scrolling through forums, and even writing my feelings online anonymously. Sharing my story, even in fragments, helped me process it. It reminded me I wasn't weak for feeling broken. I was human. And slowly, with every conversation and every word I wrote, the weight on my chest started to lift, just a little. A few days later, I knew I had to face him one more time. Not to beg, not to negotiate, but to close the chapter on my own terms. I walked into the apartment with my chest heavy, but my spine straighter than it had been in weeks. Alex looked up, surprised. You came back, he said cautiously. I sat down and looked him in the eyes. I needed to talk, I said firmly. I needed to say everything I felt, everything you broke, and then, I needed to choose for myself what happens next. He tried to apologize again, but I held up a hand. No, not right now. You can't undo this. But I can decide what I do with my life from here. And I'm choosing myself. For the first time, I felt a strange clarity. Painful, yes, but also empowering. I didn't need his forgiveness. I didn't need his explanations. I needed my own peace, my own closure. In the weeks that followed, I focused on myself. I reconnected with old hobbies I had abandoned, started journaling every day, and spent time with friends who reminded me of my worth. Slowly, the apartment began to feel like my space again, not a shrine to betrayal. Some days were harder than others. Memories would strike unexpectedly, and the pain would flare up. But each time, I reminded myself, I survived this. I am stronger than the hurt he caused. I even began dating myself, learning to enjoy my own company, to cherish my own thoughts, my own laughter, my own quiet moments. It was liberating and terrifying at the same time. I realized I didn't need someone else to validate my life or my happiness. I could do that on my own. For the first time in a long while, I felt a tentative sense of hope. Not naive hope that things would magically be perfect, but real hope that I could rebuild, that I could trust myself, and that someday, I could love again without fear of betrayal shadowing me. It took months, but slowly I came to accept what had happened. I accepted that Alex made choices that hurt me deeply, that our relationship was fractured in ways that couldn't simply be repaired. And most importantly, I accepted that it wasn't my fault. Acceptance didn't mean forgetting. It didn't mean pretending the pain never existed. It meant acknowledging the hurt, learning from it, and letting it coexist with the person I wanted to become. I forgave myself for trusting too easily, for loving too much, for giving my heart fully. I realized that healing isn't linear. Some days, the memories sting sharply. Other days, I smile without feeling guilt or sadness. And that, I think, is progress. Acceptance isn't about him, it's about me. About reclaiming my life, my joy, my freedom. Looking back, I see now that this experience, as painful as it was, taught me a lot about myself. I learned that my self-worth cannot depend on someone else's loyalty or love. I learned that trust is precious, and betrayal is devastating, but also that healing is possible. I learned the importance of boundaries, of speaking up for myself, and of refusing to settle for less than I deserve. I learned that it's okay to grieve, to feel broken and to cry, but it's also okay to stand up, rebuild, and reclaim my life. To anyone going through something similar, Your pain is valid, your feelings are real, and you don't have to stay in a relationship that diminishes you. Protect your heart, trust your instincts, and remember that choosing yourself is never selfish. It's necessary. I don't know what the future holds, or if love will come again, but I do know this. I am stronger than the betrayal, and I am finally free to live my life on my own terms.